Okay, good morning, grade 12. All right, today we'll be doing international trade, focusing on convergence zones. In a global shipping route, we have places that we call convergence zones, where all our shipping routes meet, and they are very important. And more often, you'll find traffic on that particular areas. So we'll go in depth, learning about all our convergence zones, as some of you will be in the maritime industry, so they'll need to know more about it. Okay, we'll take a look at the map later on, but let's just do a theory on it now. We'll start with the Suez Canal, which is owned by one of our own country in Africa, which is Egypt. Yes, which is Egypt. So Suez Canal is being operated by Egypt in North Africa. Suez Canal joined Asia, which meant that the ship could not sail from Europe or North America except via a long way via Cape. So if you want to go to Europe or you want to go to America from Asia, there's two ways. It's either via Cape or via Suez Canal. So it depends. So now, if you are going via a Suez Canal, it is the shortest route. And remember, ship owners like to make money. They love money. So they make sure that they use the cheapest route, which is the Suez Canal, right? So the Suez Canal was opened in 1869 and in 2015. In 2015, they had a second, allowing ships to pass on each side. So they now able to travel in both direction. A Suez Canal was opened in 1869. And in 2015, a second canal was opened, allowing a ship in both directions at once. So a new canal was then increased. Also in depth, allowing a new ships now to travel there. These new ships are now called Suezmax. So they're now bigger in sizes. They can now travel. Remember, there's a lot of commodities that are needed in Europe. Talking about oil, which are coming from Middle East, crude oil, containers that are coming from China, because remember, China, there's a lot of production that's happening, including electronics. So a lot of electronics that are coming there, they will pass through Suez Canal. This made the canal economically important, as it is the shortest link between West and East. So now they are the shortest link between West and East. Remember, I said to you, ship owners, they want to make money with their ships. So they will take as shortest route as possible. But before they can take that shortest route, it needs to be safe. Okay, so that is the reason why the Suez Canal is important in international trade. Now, the important cargoes of goods that cannot be produced in home countries pass along this canal. So, for instance, in Europe, they don't have oil in Europe, so mostly they will import oil from Middle East, passing through the Suez Canal. Most of the electronics coming from China, most of agricultural products from Australia, from South Africa, they also pass through the Suez Canal. Okay, Suez Canal is also important from a military point of view, particularly as she lied in a region of hostiles. During World War I, the British and the Turkish had battle over her. The Egypt was declared as a British protectorate, so that Britain could control the canal. So now it is controlled by Egypt, but a British had to make sure that that particular area allows more ships from around the world to trade. Remember, at sea, we say it's a safe passage for everyone. So everyone is allowed to sail anyway. Do we understand?
Yes.
They are allowed to sail anyway. Regardless, they need not to pose a danger to that particular country. So that's a safe passage. If the ship is passing, then it's not bringing any military or any illegal stuff, then they are allowed to pass through that particular area. Right, now we're moving into a Turkish Strait. A Turkish Strait, these are two inland waterways lying on either end of a Sea of Marmara. These waterways, the Danellis and the Bosphorus, are considered to be boundary between Europe and Asia. So now they're connecting Europe and Asia, especially from ships that are coming from Russia, bulk carriers that are coming from Russia, coming from Ukraine. They pass through the Turkish Strait. Remember, we had a problem with a number of ships that were coming to Turkish Strait because of a war between Russia and Ukraine. So we had a problem during that particular time. Okay. I'll show you guys all the convergence zone when we are done, because we don't have a postic. And then we have a Strait of Gibraltar. This lies between the Atlantic Ocean and Mediterranean, and it connects Africa and Europe. Ships from west destined for east via Suez, as well as those destined for Mediterranean countries like Italy, Greece, must pass through here. So we have this Gibraltar Strait connecting Africa. So closer to Europe, we have Gibraltar Strait. So all the ships that were coming via Red Sea, Suez Canal will pass through the Gibraltar, destined for Italy. And also ships that are coming from America, destined for northern countries, England, Italy. They will go via a Strait of Gibraltar. Their strategic importance has to be recognized throughout their history. During the World War II, they were extremely important to the combined British allies in the North African campaign. Also, today, Strait of Gibraltar is important for bunker stop. So most of the ships that want to take fuel, they will stop in a Strait of Gibraltar, take fuel if there's a shortage, and then they'll continue with their voyages. Right. The British have a naval base there. They also have naval base just to make sure that everything that is happening in that particular ocean, which is Atlantic Ocean and also English Channel, no one is disturbing any operation. Strait of Gibraltar, I think Spain is thinking is theirs, but it actually operated by England. And then we move on into English Channel. This is a very busy waterways. It's a very busy waterways. So most of the ships that are destined for Italy, they're destined for all the countries in Baltic or Baltic countries, they pass through the English Channel. So this waterway links England and Europe and offers a passage way from Atlantic through the North Sea up to the Baltic countries. Thousands of ships pass through here each year, and many ferries run between UK and Europe. So we have ferries also running from UK and Europe. You know, ferries are those small ships, carries passengers and also goods. Say you're moving from UK to Europe, you'll also use your ferries. Okay, in additional, several important ports lies here, including Portsmouth. Portsmouth is here, which is a British naval port, and Southampton, which is a main commercial port of UK. As well as Port of London. And then we have Le Havre, which is a French port here as well, and Brest also lies here. So this is a very important one. Remember that Europe, or British and Europe, most of the products they are using, most of the product that they are producing, they need to outsource some of natural resources from Africa, from Australia. They need the natural resources to produce. They produce like a facial product, they produce food, so they need also the natural resources that are coming from a southern hemisphere, because southern hemisphere is rich in mineral and agricultural, so they have to import all those products from southern hemisphere to produce all the products that they are producing. So most of the ship will be coming through English Channel. If we talk about England, they produce a lot of drinks. They need oranges, especially this season. They're busy with the citrus products to produce their juices. So citrus products, they come from South Africa, Brazil, and also Australia. So because we have oranges, we have lemons, so they import our products. They go via English Channel. All right. The straits are strategically important due to a North Sea oil which brought down to Europe through here. So we also need oil to produce some products. So they buy oil from the Middle East going through the English Channel. Also coal, they buy coal from Brazil and from South Africa. Goods are destined to Europe pass through here to Rotterdam to be loaded into barges destined inland. So we also have that service where we have like a inland waterways, like a small rivers. So we have barges that will travel from an open sea going to inland waters. Okay. Right. Now we're moving to number 5, which is a Panama Canal. The Panama Canal cuts through the narrow area in Central America that links North and South America. So I'll show you in the picture. So as you can see, there's the South and North America. So that the Panama Canal cuts in the central there that links them both. It allows ships to move between the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. So there's the Atlantic on your right, and on your left is a Pacific Ocean. It allows a ship to move through. The canal is considerable shortened journey that otherwise would have to go via South America. Otherwise, if there was no Panama Canal, a ship would have to go via Magellan Strait, south of America. So that's the longest route. Ship owners does not like that. They will not be happy to go via south of America. And it's possible you might encounter ice as well. So that's a very dangerous area to pass through. So that is a Panama Canal. In 2016, alterations were completed which allowed the canal to take larger ships known as New Panamax. So now we have a bigger size of ships, which is called a Panamax, which now are being allowed to pass through the canal. And then we have one of our own, which is Cape Agulhas route. Although not choke point, the Cape of Good Hope is a major global trade route, especially for our bigger ships, for very large crude carriers, VLCCs, that cannot pass through all the straits or canals that we've mentioned. They need to go via Cape. Okay. Located on the southern tip of South Africa, It is a significant transit point for oil tankers shipment, because normally oil tankers will be carrying a large quantity of oil going to America sometimes, because America are the most importers of crude oil. During the blocking of Suez Canal, we had used the Cape Agulhas route. So in that particular case, we made money for our country because it was closed there in Suez Canal, and then most of the ships were going via Cape, right? Yeah, which is good because we want to make money. South Africa has an important source of revenue from bunkering. So most of the ships that are going via Cape will have to stop and take bunkers, because if you are passing in our port, you also use our navigational information, so you pay for that as well. So for all ships that are passing through Cape Town, coming from Asia, they also pay for navigational aids, because we're giving them navigational aids like lighthouses. They use our lighthouses. They use our charts as well to pass through the Cape Agulhas. So it costs them money. So we make money from those ships. Right. Not only do ships pay for fuel, but they pay for port charges. If they come inside, they need to pay for port charges, take on supplies, and may do repairs. As you all know that we also have dry docks. If they come and do repairs, then they pay for my repairs as well. They pay for supplies, food supplies, water supplies, oil supplies, and also for engine supplies. Right, and then we have number 7, Strait of Hormuz. This links the oil-rich countries in the Middle East along the Gulf of Eden with the Persian Gulf and the rest of the world. So this Strait of Hormuz links the Middle East along the Gulf of Eden with the Persian Gulf. So via Strait of Hormuz, they are oil-rich countries. So this is situated in the Middle East, allowing the ships coming from rich oil countries like Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia. They have oil, they have crude oil, allowing ships to pass through here. Most of the world's supertankers pass here each year. It is a major choke point, thus being very important in the world economy. So most of the world depends on the oil that are being produced or that are being harvested in the Middle East, right? Just as the world need oil, the Arab countries need food. So we need oil, they need food. We have food, they have oil, so we trade. But now trading, we don't trade with goods, we trade with money. Yeah, that's how we do now. And so we buy oil from them, but most importers of oil is China and America, right? Because they have a lot of production to do. They have a lot of production to do. Iran and Iraq lies in the north end of the Strait of Hormuz and have tried several times to control it. So Iran and Iraq, they try to control the straits because they lies on the north of it, and they know that most of the ships that are destined for them are passing through the Straits of Hormuz. So strategically, it is important to the world because they provide a world with oil, right? So that is the Straits of Hormuz. Maybe they will ask you in the exam again, but mostly they like those straits that have mostly important commodities. Okay, they might ask you about the Straits of Hormuz. They might ask you as well about Panama Canal. Yeah, so you need to be ready. This is the world's busiest shipping, is a Strait of Malacca now, which is the world's busiest shipping route, linking as it does the industrial area of China. So mostly They will call China an industrial area because they do a lot of production. They do a lot of production. So they have agricultural products. They have coal, but not as much because they still import coal from South Africa, and they still import oil. They import oil from Middle East. So they need a lot of oil. So Strait of Malacca Straits rather, in Japan and Korea on the Pacific coast, they linking China, Japan and Korea on the Pacific coast with the Indian Ocean. So they connect the Indian Ocean and the Pacific. So if you are passing through the Malacca Strait, you'll pass from Indian Ocean up until you reach the Pacific coast. Right. Still on Malacca, both Japan and China rely heavily on the strait as their oil supplies travel along this route. So most of the oil that are coming from Middle East will pass through Strait of Malacca. So if there is a closure in Malacca Straits, that will be a problem for Japan and China. So this needs to be clear at all time. So yeah, so these are convergence zones which are important in the maritime industry as well as the world economy. Do we understand, guys? So, okay, so now after the session we'll be doing questions. I'll be giving you questions on international trade, but basically or based on convergent zones. Yes.
What happened at the Straits of Hormuz in 1980?
What happened in the Straits of Hormuz in 1980? Isaac, yes?
Iran and Iraq fought over the strait.
Iran and Iraq fought over the strait. That's it? What happened?
I don't know what really happened, but I know that the Oman country and Oman
yes.
ended up owning the strait along with Iran and Iran.
Yeah, so Iran and Iraq, because remember, they know that the strait is important, and most of the ships that are passing through the strait, they pay what? Money. And politically, most of the countries there, according to convergence zones, it's part of each and every country. They think they have a right to own that. But now, IMO, which is International Maritime Organization, need to come into place, and they need to resolve there. And remember that IMO, they cannot do anything with that. They called UNCLOS, which is United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea. They are the one who resolved that. Because everyone is claiming, as you all know, that in our coast we have 12 nautical miles, which is our territorial, and we have 24, and then 200 nautical miles, where we allow only our ship to fish in that particular area. No one is fighting with us because there is no country which is closer to us. But for this convergence zone, most of the country are closer to it. That's why they fought. But at the end, UNCLOS resolve it and say, okay, which country is less fortunate? Then they can gain from the strait, which is Oman, because they have less oil. Then they can take it and claim it. Because most of the countries, they are rich in oil. They get the money from their oil. Okay? Yes. Any other questions? All right. We'll start with Suez Canal, right? We'll start with Suez Canal. I want to show you Suez Canal. Where is it located? Okay. So, like I said, from east going to west, the shortest route will be via Suez Canal. This is Red Sea, and then after Red Sea, there's a Suez Canal. Suez Canal there on top, operated by the Egypt. We know that Israel and Egypt fought over the Suez Canal because Israel said it's our canal, but it ended up owned by the Egypt. Okay, so there's a Suez Canal there. Right, and then from Suez Canal, we're going to a Turkish Strait. Turkish Strait, allowing ships coming from Asia, but smaller ships, not a bigger ships, coming from Asia, Russia, to go through here and Strait of Gibraltar. Okay, and then we have a Strait of Gibraltar. Strait of Gibraltar that is being operated near Spain, but it is owned by United Kingdom, which is England. There is links, English channels. Okay, they go through English Channel. And then we have English Channel. We have English Channel allowing all ships that are destined for Baltic countries to pass through here, okay? And then now we have a Panama Canal. Panama Canals, which links. So if you are moving, saying you are moving from Venezuela going to Alaska, USA. So this is the shortest route. You wouldn't go via Macalin. Macalin is very far, and you might encounter ice, as you can see the whitish here, which is very dangerous to a ship, which are not strengthened for ice. So this will be the shortest route. And then Cape Agulhas route, south of Africa. This is Cape Agulhas route for bigger ships that cannot pass through the Panama, Suez Canal, or any other straits. They will go via Cape Agulhas. And then we have Strait of Hormuz. Strait of Hormuz, we did talk about that. All rich countries. So those countries that are rich in oil, their ships passes through here, which is a Strait of Hormuz. And then Strait of Malacca. This is Strait of Malacca. They call Sumatra Malacca. So for ships that are destined for Far East countries like Japan and China, they'll go via a Malacca Strait. So if there's a problem or there's a closure here, the ship will need to go via Pacific, okay, which is a very longest route, because this is the only way if this one is closed, okay. Thank you guys for listening. Any other questions? The most? The most important one, so mostly when we talk about the most important one in shipping industry, we're looking at the number of ships that are passing through. So mostly they will say it's English Channel, but all of them, they are important. That's why we cover them in our syllabus, because they're all important, equally important. Because you understand that for ships that are going to Iraq, Iran, they need to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. It is important, otherwise we won't get oil. Some will say it's Strait of Hormuz, some will say English Channel, but who knows? It's a different need. So yeah, they all are important. Okay, grade 12. Are you happy? Okay.